Good day, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We've got a great topic. Today's webinar is what comes after the purchase order is signed, and we're going to talk a little bit about due diligence. My name is Jim DeManis. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Rock Advisors. Really happy to be with you today, and thank you for joining us. We've got a very special guest, one of our top agents, Brad McGill, is on the line with us. How are you, Brad?
Good, Jim. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. Thank you for participating, and it's quite the day as well. For you that are out there and listening audience, I've got the slide up. Brad is our in-house student housing expert. He's been in the business for quite a while. He's done a lot of interesting deals, and he's absolutely the go-to guy for any type of student housing needs you have. So, Brad, you're going to talk to us about doing due diligence.
I am.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, this is an interesting topic. I think you would agree that it's an important topic, and I know that the folks that are on the line with us today are looking forward to hearing from you, your wisdom, your experience. And I would encourage you as well that any time you'd like to come up with an example of some of the projects that you've been dealing with that perhaps talk about the particular topic, that would be great. So why don't you start things up here, buy-side key points, and maybe just talk us through that really quickly, and we'll move on.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So thanks for having me today. I really appreciate the ability to talk to the public out there and give them sort of an overview of buy-side brokerage and, of course, the due diligence that comes along with it. It's just as important as the sales side of the property. And I'd like to talk to you today about four key points from the buy side. And the first one is valuation of the property. The second is your level of ownership. The third is financing and pre-qualifying for financing. And obviously the fourth is sale due diligence. So the first point that I'd like to cover today is the valuation of the property, and does this acquisition make sense for you, and does it align with your level of ownership? So we want to really drill down from the get-go and understand who you are, what you do, and what you own. And how does that compare to the current sales comps? If we're looking at a particular property, we want to know, is the property that you're looking at purchasing the right price, the right area? So we want to get those things lined up for you. And then we finally have a due diligence checklist that we actually go over. So the second point today is your level of ownership, and we want to really understand what you have today at this point. If you have a broad portfolio, or if you're just starting out with a couple buildings. So our first question, what is the motivation for the acquisition of this property, and what kind of other multifamily assets do you own and operate at this current time? Where are these assets located? So are they across the country? Are you a local guy, and do you live 5 minutes from your building? These are all important points for us to understand when we're going through our due diligence. And finally, do you use a third-party management company?
So, as I'm looking at this, this is really good stuff, and I'll be honest with you, it's rare that I see things like, what is the motivation for the acquisition. I'm not sure that there's enough care out there in the industry that we're actually asking those questions and really trying to get behind the real reasons. Maybe you can just expand on how this process works. In other words, a client comes in. Do you do this over the phone? Do you have obviously this is going to take some time to really get to know what the client wants, and then hopefully to be of great service. Can you talk a little bit about how you operate in that respect?
Right. Sure. Yeah. No. Our key focus is relationship building, and we want to develop a long-term relationship so that you come for our services for either the life of your ownership of the building or, the life of you building out your portfolio. And, that is our key motivation on our side, and we want to understand your key motivation. What are your goals? How does that look? So we will initially have some kind of contact over the phone initially, and then obviously we'll try and set up a meeting either at your office or at our office, and then we can really start to gather these points and go through our internal checklist.
Sure, and would it be fair to say, Brad, that by understanding your clients' motivations, understanding what perhaps their short, medium, long-term goals are, it really enables you to become that trusted advisor, and really as a result you can be even more service to your clients. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. That's what we're here to do, and we're glad to help.
Great. Okay, so let's talk about pre-qualifying and financing. I mean, that's a big issue.
Sure. This obviously is one of the most important factors of any transaction. So we want to know what approvals must be obtained in order to invest in this equity or to invest this equity in this asset. Who else must be approved for the purchase, either internally or externally? If you do have a larger organization, we'd like to know from the outset who is going to be making these decisions.
Sure.
And then buildings can sometimes be previously underwritten by lending institutions. If you've been working with a lending institute and they've already done some due diligence on this, then that will obviously help as well. And then of course we can bring that to the table.
When we're talking about I'm assuming that when we're talking about approvals, especially if we're dealing with a larger organization, and I think it maybe speaks to point two as well. If they're institutional investors, you're probably dealing with asset managers, director of asset managers, perhaps the COO, CO. So all of these things really need to be, everybody's got to be aligned so that when you're going to do this deal, that those approvals are ready, and that you're not wasting your client's time, you're not wasting your time, and quite frankly, you're not going to waste the time of a potential seller. Would that be accurate?
Exactly.
Yeah. And you said something that I think is very, very powerful, very useful for our audience, and that's that buildings can sometimes be previously written by lending institutions. So obviously, if a client has a preferred lender, are you then able to work with them, or what if you're able to get them a better deal with another lender? Is that something you would bring to the table?
100%. I mean, we're looking to advise the client either way. So if they've already got somebody lined up and they are favorable terms, then by all means, I mean that's a great relationship that somebody else has already developed. But if we feel that we could possibly introduce a lending institution that could be better, then I think it works out for all parties.
Right. Good stuff. So financing continued.
Okay, so I'll continue on here. So if we have a third-party financing will be needed, who will be that lender? And we can help to advise on that point. Have they underwritten the property previously? Do you have any existing loans with this lender that will help establish some credibility? And what are your proposed loan terms? And finally, how much cushion have you allowed for your interest rate to increase?
Sure. So I think this is obviously very important. Again, this speaks to relationships. You talked about that right in the beginning, and obviously, you want to have a good relationship with those people that are going to be lending you the funds. Again, if they've underwritten this particular property before, that certainly helps. Again, from your experience, do you see deals that fail at this stage? Is this kind of the stage where a lot of deals fail, just not being able to get the financing lined up?
Not typically. If you're in this asset class, you're going to have some backing. You're not coming to the table first kick in the can. You've obviously been pre-qualified somehow by some lenders somewhere, and we're looking to build on that experience that you have already. So sometimes deals do get complicated, but it's sort of later on in the due diligence stages of a project. And obviously, we're here to help if financing does go a bit sideways. There's all sorts of avenues to take, but we kind of deal with that on a case-by-case basis.
Sure. So recent transactions.
So we look at what was the most recent transaction that you've closed, and that'll help us learn and understand how you work and how you do your due diligence. And then obviously how large was your most recent transaction gives us a good scope of what we can sort of put in the pipeline for later if you're looking to build out that portfolio. It also adds some credibility when we're approaching a bank or a financial institution to give them comfort to understand what you've done in the past. And then finally, how many deals have you closed in the past year? That's obviously very important to understand as well.
Yeah, you've used the word credibility on more than one occasion as you've been describing the process, and I'm assuming as well that credibility also extends to the agent involved. In this case, yourself. I mean, the more credibility that somebody like you has, I think that would make the transaction go smoother as well, correct?
It does, yeah. I mean, bringing an experienced guy onto your team is really going to help you, take on the challenges and the hurdles that come.
Sure. And some more on financing here, past transactions.
That's right. Yep. So we want to know during the last 24 months, have you contracted to purchase any properties that did not result in a closing? Again, this is just understanding who the buyer is and what they've done and where they want to go. And if yes, what are the properties and what happened? We want to really understand, what were the hurdles, and maybe we can help. Maybe we can push deals forward that you weren't able to get through previously.
Right. So really, I mean, all this information, it's critical, but perhaps even more important, it allows you to help your client in getting the deal done and just understanding where they're coming from and helping them through the entire process.
Yeah, that's right.
Great. And then finally, present transaction.
Yeah, we want to understand. Do you have any concerns about this current transaction? Maybe there's some part of the project or the property that you're feeling uneasy about, whether it's on the financing side or the typical due diligence side. We want to know about this up front so that we can build our armor in a sense to get this thing closed. Sure,
that makes total sense. Okay, some more due diligence checklists. This is good. I love checklists. Everybody loves checklists. My wife's got tons of checklists for me.
Mine does as well. So our fourth and final point is we actually have quite a detailed due diligence checklist. We've got a detailed analysis and our key steps that we really look at a deal specifically, deal by deal. So, we do collect the rent roll. We look at the environmental compliance, the build engineering report, utilities, previously, past 3 years, financials, safety components, soil inspections, any appraisals that have been done, any insurance policies. We'll flip forward and continue on our checklist, Jim.
Yep.
And of course, any zoning compliance or title issues that could come up, contracts under place, any of the management, employment, landscaping, alarm companies, waste management, pest controls, etc. And then, of course, your fixtures and your chattels to be included in the sale price. And what this really helps to do is to create a good, solid plan and move forward for any substantiated claims through our walkthrough process.
Sure. So in the beginning, while you were, I'm just going to go back to the previous slide. In the beginning, while you were going through this list, you said this. You said we do collect this information, and I think you were trying to make a point there. So why did you say that? Why did you say that we do collect this information? Why is this?
Take for example, environmental compliance. So say we're working on a land assembly for a developer that isn't sure that it will comply or have a clean geotechnical or soil analysis. So we'll actually help to arrange an environmental engineer to go and assess the property. And we're working with one right now, and it could slow up a deal. So to have all these ducks in a row is key to have, and it's going to make a successful closing for you eventually.
Mm-hmm. And you were saying that you're currently working on a deal relative to some geotechnical reports. Any examples you can share with our listening audience whereby you've done this kind of due diligence and perhaps things have gone offside, or you've been able to do something to kind of save the day, or any other kind of real world example that you've been involved with that can help add a little more clarity around the importance of doing this kind of due diligence?
Sure. Well, especially when you have your developer hat on, it is crucial that you know all the facts and the history of the property. For example, this project that we're working on right now, there is an automotive shop on the corner, and we don't know. We're not quite sure what we're gonna find. I'm sure we're gonna find something, and as long as the buyer knows that this is coming, then it'll help ease the transaction along. So it could eventually slow up the project, but we want to try and minimize that as much as we can.
Sure. So all great information, Brad, and obviously it's so important to do proper due diligence. And just to reiterate some takeaways that I've got just listening to you. I mean, number one, just that interview process, just how important it is for you to spend time with your client. And I can tell everybody listening in, I've had the pleasure of working with Brad for some time now, and I can tell you, I don't think I've ever met an agent that's more dedicated and more interested in understanding the needs of his clients. And this is a guy.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
Well, it's true, and this is a guy that'll hop on a plane at a moment's notice to go meet with a client just to make sure that client's needs are taken care of. So I think it's
exactly. I mean, we want to be informed throughout the whole process. So we're going to work very closely with buyer or seller in doing this due diligence. Typically it's a it could be a 12 to 20 week process on something like this. So
really, so that's
we get to know each other pretty well.
Yeah, I bet you do. So before we close off here, Brad, anything else? If you could give folks one or two nuggets of advice relative to what we've talked about here, or maybe even something else in terms of the business. Anything else you'd like to share with our listening audience?
Well, I'd really just like to stress the fact that you really want to be working with the right guys here through your buy-side brokerage and through your sell-side brokerage. And these are the types of questions, and do the other guys have these types of systems in place, and are they willing to go that extra mile for you? And that's kind of what I want to hit home here, is just we're willing to work for you.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Brad. We truly appreciate your time, and hope you enjoy the rest of the day and drive safe, my friend.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And so, for those of you listening, if you are, if you've got some questions, or let me just get Brad's contact info back up. If you have some questions, or if you're interested in speaking to Brad about student housing, especially, he is our in-house student housing specialist. Brad is available to speak with you. Kindly send him an email or call him, and I know that he'd be more than happy to lend his expertise. Next webinar, I think everybody likes and rather looks forward to this, and that's our 2013 Ontario Apartment Wrap-Up. So this is where I think we're going to have our CEO, Derek Lobo, along with one of our appraiser friends, talking about what's happened throughout the year, some of the highlights of the year, and where we're heading. As well, we've got an exciting 2014 webinar lineup coming soon. But we always look forward to hearing from you. So if you have any ideas for us, questions, recommendations, we'd love to hear from you. As well, we're always looking for good people to co-broker with. We encourage you to visit our website at rockaptadvisors.ca. Check out our co-brokerage information. We'd love to talk to you about that. And as always, want to thank RealTrack for the following sales information. So here we are. We're quickly coming to a close, end of the year. Total value of sales $2.6 billion. Average price per unit, we're north of that $100,000 mark. And the largest transaction here, Isabella Street, $8.7 million. And wow, highest priced per unit, $250,000, Evans Avenue. No surprises here. 14.6% of the apartment transactions, primarily in the GTA. So let's look at what's been going on. Just some interesting transactions. This is the Isabella Street deal, $182,000 per unit. Obviously, this is a high-end property, great location in Toronto. Here's another one. Wow, Evans Avenue in Etobicoke, good area, $250,000 per unit. Looks like possibly a redevelopment site here. High Street in Mississauga, $130,000. You're looking at that product as I am, and that's what $130,000 is going to per unit is going to buy you in Mississauga. Golden Mile Apartments in Scarborough, even Scarborough now, prices are creeping up to that $120,000 mark, $119,000. This, I believe, is Edmonton and Victoria area, so fairly busy area, close to a lot of close to transit, amenities, etc. But again, $119,000. Eglinton and Pharmacy, another busy area, $123,000. Windsor, Ontario, $67,000 per unit. This one on Donnelly Street. We're seeing here that Windsor is obviously it's coming back to life. We're seeing prices go up, more transactions happening in Windsor. Good deals to be had. As Derek likes to say, you can still buy the pound. Sault Ste. Marie, $67,000. So some of these B market areas, some good deals to be had. Once again, Sault Ste. Marie, $85,000. Belleville, another one of the outlying areas at $53,000. St. Catharines, $83,000. Now, St. Catharines, obviously, a really good, great city. It's an up-and-comer. We've seen prices creep up there as well. So that brings us to an end. We encourage you to check out our website. We've spent a lot of time on designing a new website. Lots of great resources there for you to check out, and we'd love to hear from you. Our 2014 webinar schedule will be coming online soon, so we encourage you to check that out. Thank you very much for joining us today. We wish you all happy holidays. Take care.